Hi, everybody. I am Blake Cabot. I am the CEO of Career Learning, and today we have the all too fabulous Wendy Sellers back from vacation just for your benefit. And today we're going to cover ChatGPT for HR productivity. Wendy is the official trademarked HR lady. And Wendy has done a lot of courses for us. She knows a lot about ChatGPT, and she knows a ton about HR. She's written 2 books. She's been at this for 25 years, and she is fantastic. So you're in luck. Uh, Wendy's a lot of fun. So we're lucky to
Thank
have her.
you.
And we're having a class for Wendy, ChatGPT for HR certification next week, June 9th through 11th, 1 to 2 p.m. And if you use the code professional20, you get 20% off on that. And I will include a link for that. So with that said, Wendy, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Wendy Sellers, the HR lady. So we're going to be mostly on the internet today, sharing ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you how to do some prompts. And then again, come back January or June 9th, 10th, and 11th. We'll be going more detailed into how HR can use ChatGPT, ChatGPT for managers, and then ChatGPT for, your employee handbook and so much more. Regardless of what your title is, ChatGPT and AI is amazing and dangerous at the same time. And I'll explain that as we're going through some of the prompts here. But today I want to just give you a little bit of a sampling of, what the heck is this AI thing called ChatGPT? How does it work? How do I even start using it? Is there a fee? Is there not? And then a bunch of tips for getting more accurate results. ChatGPT is AI, artificial intelligence. That's what AI stands for. It's developed by a company called OpenAI. So a lot of the terminology is you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was a company. I thought they were just saying open artificial intelligence. No, the name of the company is OpenAI. ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it's called a chat bot. So there's some of the terminology that you might hear out there in the world. AI, transformer, chat bot. AI is the capacity of computers and data systems to exhibit or simulate intelligent behavior. And so it is, again, like I said, amazing, but also, there's risks, especially for what we do, regardless of if you're a business owner, a manager, human resources, finance, technology. Anytime we are using artificial intelligence personally, but definitely professionally to make decisions, we have some risk because we still need to, someone should still be QCing, okay, is that information that's coming up accurate, or am I using it and then whoops, it was wrong information? So we'll explain a little bit more about that. But the fun thing is, AI, just talk to it like it's a human. I know it's weird. It's a computer. It's a data system. But, for those of you who do use talk to text when you're Googling something, you'll get used to that a lot easier. For those of you that type every single thing out, guess what? You don't have to do that. You can just grab your phone. If you're going to search something, if you're going to, put something on your maps and you're getting your car to go in that direction, you could just talk to your phone or talk to your computer if your computer allows you to do that, to say, okay, create me a policy, create me a sample memo, provide me facts about turnover, about retention, provide a travel itinerary. We were just chatting that I just booked a trip to Portugal, and me and my friend, the first thing we did was doop, AI, what's the highlights of things to do? And then we could figure out from there what if we want to go in that direction and get more research, or if we don't want to go in that direction. You can put articles in there and say, can you summarize this article for me? Or can you rewrite this? Now, be careful. We don't want to be stealing other people's information, but all the way down to checklists and forms, you name it. It is just super, super amazing. So what I want to do is I want to, hold on 1 second here. I'm going to go onto the internet, which means I need to
Switch screens.
Yep, switch screens real quick here, which really means I need to put my glasses on. Just aged myself there a little bit. Okay, so you're seeing a nice boring screen right now, right? This is ChatGPT. Doesn't look like anything special, right? So ChatGPT, you would just go to literally chatgpt.com. I already have an account. So if you didn't have an account, you would end up going into when you go into ChatGPT, it just asks your name and your email, and that's it. So you get your name and your email. Now you have a free account. If you want to upgrade, currently it is $20 a month, and currently you can sign up month by month and then like just unenroll and go back to the free one. I say currently because I would imagine at some point they're going to change it and say, if you want to be a member, you got to buy a certain amount of months at a time. But I don't know if that's the option. You could change this to dark or light. I personally just like the light one. And then there's a bunch of other personalizations you could do in here too, including I can't play because I have an earpiece in right now, but if you wanted to um, ask ChatGPT something and when it gave you the results back, you can have it read out loud to you. And then this is where you choose your voices. There's not many choices right now, but there's something there at least. And then it could either detect your language that's going in, or you could choose a language. So it can help you translate. Now, somebody still needs to be able to read that translation because who knows if it's right or wrong. But I won't go into the more boring stuff here, but just know that there's all of this information here. And so we'll check on that later. Now, like I said, it looks pretty boring. I have the paid account. Again, only $20 a month, totally worth it to me. I do trainings all the time, but more importantly, I use it all the time. If you have the paid account, you get options of the models. For those of you that are not super into technology, think of the models as an app and then different versions of the app, upgraded versions and things like that. If you are on your actual, cell phone, there's a ChatGPT app, or you can just go onto the internet like we're doing right now. So that's totally up to you what you want to do here. There are different models. We're, for the most part, going to probably just stay at most of them. The 4.0, I believe the 4.0 is the free model right now. And whenever they do upgrades, so they're always coming out with new models that you can see do different things, take longer to work. You could attach things, have it analyze things, and there's always coming out with new ones. And they might come out with a new model and then an old model drops off. And so don't go falling in love with any of the models. But let's just get to the basics here and do a few prompts. I'm just going to do it with the ChatGPT 4.0 model, which is great for most tasks. And I have my prompts already written out just for purposes of training. So I'm going to copy and paste them into this. So I am going to let's just do maybe a real basic one here. Now, one thing you're going to notice when we go into like Google, we have been trained to do what's called SEO, search engine optimization. We've been trained to type into Google little tiny statements or words like such as, employee survey, sample employee survey. And then we get sent from Google to all of these websites that we have to click on and go through to find out, is this what I was looking for? That's called search engine optimization. So those companies that you got sent to their websites, they're either naturally creating popularity or they're paying for it behind the scenes, and we don't necessarily know that. And so when we type in these little words, we get sent to their website, and then we have to go through 10, 12 websites to find out what we're looking for. That's not what happens with ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to do the can't type in talks.
And
Employee
you don't have to
engagement.
spell well. That's the other great thing about
Yes, yeah.
ChatGPT. It'll figure it out.
Yep. So I'm going to put in what I would normally put in here as if we were in Google land, but then I'm going to show you the correct way to do it. So I'm just putting employee engagement survey sample USA, hit enter. And yes, like Blake said, we do not have to spell properly. Kind of spell a little bit, but it could figure it out. It is way smarter than us. So now all I typed in was employee engagement survey sample USA, just because I always put USA in, if all your locations are in the USA, just in case there's some laws associated with it. It brings in the law of that state or that country, in on the HR lady. So I'm just trained to be careful about laws. So all I said here was employee engagement survey sample USA, and now it's giving me a sample. And that was like what, in 5 seconds. It gave me all this information here, and I myself write employee surveys. And so I'm QCing this as it's going. Somebody still needs to look at it if you're going to use it for work to say, yeah, that's what I was looking for, and yeah, that's right. So don't 100% trust it, because if I accidentally typed in survey sample and I said, I don't know, United Kingdom, then something else may come up, and I was, too busy hurrying up pretending I did this, and I may not have caught that. So it's telling me here, here's the instructions. Here are some survey samples. I'm scrolling down slow so I don't make you too dizzy here. And then here are some open-ended survey questions. I'm just going to say, for purposes of today, yeah, that sounds good, Wendy, and I'm going to give it a good response. I just gave ChatGPT feedback that said, yep, you gave me what I was looking for. If he didn't, there's a down, and you could put the thumbs down, and then a pop-up usually comes up where you can type the developer's notes, and then they use your information to help improve the system. Now, if I wanted to copy the answers, I could either do one of two things. I could go up here, right click copy, or I can just go to copy and then put it into an email or wherever I want to put it. If I wanted to use a different model, like, oh, that's cool, let me use a different model on this, we can do that as well. Or I can now go and search the web, which is basically kind of sending you to Google land. So we're not going to do that. What do you see here that's not here that you would normally see when I put this into Google? You don't see all the websites. It just gave you the data. It doesn't say, oh, go to Gallup and get this information, go to SHRM and get this information, go to the HR lady's website and here's some information. Now, sometimes depending on what model you're using, or if you say employee engagement survey sample USA and provide websites, then it will provide the websites as well. So some of these models over here are a little bit different. I want to do a different one though. I'm going to stay in the same model, and I'm going to put a much more specific prompt. That's what this is called that we're typing in. It's called a prompt. So I have this written out already. So I copied and pasted it, and I'm going to say, hey, ChatGPT, draft a company-wide survey of 12 questions to assess employee satisfaction and identify areas for improvement. I am in the USA. We are construction. Again, don't worry about typos, but I am going to just fix that real quick. And so I gave it a little bit more information about where we're construction. You don't need to have proper grammar, and you could type in full paragraphs, or you could type in little tiny words. For me, for what we're doing today for HR-ish, I want you to be as specific as possible. And so get into the habit of typing full paragraphs, sentences, questions, even copy and pasting articles in there. For the purposes of human resources. If you're writing a song or something like that, you don't have to. But for the purpose of what we're doing, the more specific you are in ChatGPT and other AI, the better your results are going to be. And so it's saying here, okay, it's giving me quantitative and qualitative, which I didn't ask for. It just did that. Employee satisfaction survey. So this is on a very satisfied to dissatisfied rule options here. Do you feel motivated to do your work each day? Work environment. How would you rate communication from management? All the way down to company culture and support. One thing I don't see, safety and health, because I said construction. I don't see anything there about like benefits. So I would have liked to see something about that. But again, I didn't ask for that. So you just we have to untrain our brain to go from internet land of small, tiny words to, no, this is our new best friend. Let's have full conversations with it. For those of you, if you are struggling to do that, if you struggle to have giant conversations with it, do the talk to text. When we talk, we typically talk in full sentences. And so then you could have that information. All right, so let me just make this a little bit bigger here just so we can kind of go there. All right, so now it has a sample employee satisfaction survey. It's continuing, it's allowing me to continue the conversation. So I could stay, if you're just doing one prompt, it's just a prompt. If you're staying on that topic without going up here and doing like a new chat, as you can see up here in the top left, this is now called a conversation. So you could continue the conversation with ChatGPT on the same topic. It's asking me right here, would you like a formatted in a tool like Google Forms or Microsoft Forms? I'm just going to say a spreadsheet. Just for the purposes of this right here. Now it's an analyzing this, continuing the conversation. I've continued the conversation for many, many prompts, but eventually it kind of times out. So FYI. So what it's telling me here is to download the spreadsheet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I'll see if I could stop sharing and then reshare my spreadsheet. It popped up in Excel just because that's what I use is Excel. So you could see here that it popped up in Excel if I needed it to do that there. So there we go. Now it's in an Excel spreadsheet. So pretty cool. I think so anyways. Let me go back to sharing the ChatGPT. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy here. I want to make sure we're getting the most out of this. Now, I wanted to show you something else here. I have this hidden, so just so you weren't confused. It saves everything for you. These are all of my prompts that I can't say that I've ever done because they probably timed out eventually, but it saved the information that I just did right now. So I can go back and finish that conversation as well. And so you can save it here. There are these things called GPTs. The best way I could explain them are kind of like apps. And so you can add additional GPTs. Again, I'm just going to call them apps. You can add additional apps onto your ChatGPT platform. Be careful with this, folks. There's not from what I understand, these GPTs, pretty much anybody can create a GPT and get them onto the ChatGPT system. So that gives me great concern to download them onto my computer or put my information. I have in here on my ChatGPT just the ones that I'm comfortable with. I use Monday. I use Canva. So I already use that in my line of business. So I'm comfortable with loading that to my GPT. And then you just have to connect the accounts. And then now you can use, like, for example, Canva is where you like create logos and, images and things like that, handouts, you name it. But look at all of the cool things you can do here. I liked Monday because it was developed by ChatGPT. DALL-E is where you can create an image that's created by ChatGPT. So number one, if you don't know the company, stick with ones that are created by ChatGPT or stick with the company that you know that you work with already. But there are a ton of them, a ton of GPTs that can be really, really fun to do with. Some of them are free. Most of them are not. They're usually free in the beginning, and then they kind of give you the hook to say, all right, now you got to sign up and start paying for it. So let me just use DALL-E real quick, and then I'm just going to hide that just so it doesn't confuse you. I say create a cool image of a unicorn at a computer. And then the great thing about ChatGPT is any information that comes out of ChatGPT, as long as you didn't use somebody's information to create the document, the image, something like that, it's yours. So now if your design team, for example, or your recruiting team is creating some cool images, you can put them on your company website. Now, if you're at the workplace and you're using your workplace computer, it's theirs. We know that in HR already. If you're using the workplace computer on the workplace time, it's going to be the company's information. So anybody that's creating stuff in the workplace kind of needs to know that. Like, no, we just paid you to do that. That's our information. But how cool is that? I just said create a cool image of a unicorn at a computer, and there we go. And they're pretty interesting. So that's with what is called Doll E, but you could do that with many other apps as well. But let's go ahead and I'm going to do a different chat here. I'm going to do a different model. Let's do 4.1 mini, fast for everyday use. But I am going to specifically do an HR one. That's just because I copied it. Create a few questions that job applicants must respond to in order for their resume to be passed on to the hiring team. We are in the USA, have strict policies about criminal records related to theft. We also have strict start dates within 3 weeks of the job offer. Finally, we're in person and require everybody to work in person. We are in New York. I didn't really say what we do or anything like that yet. So let's see what comes up. That's pretty cool. Pre-screening questions, criminal record. Have you ever been convicted or of theft or a related offense? Yes or no? Now, I do want you to know, I didn't ask ChatGPT to, also tell me the law on this. So you need to know the law or you need to ask ChatGPT the law all the way down to your zip code. A little side note here, since I'm the HR lady, you can't ask people about about arrests. It's only about convictions that you can judge them based off of. Availability to start work location, employment eligibility. And then it says here, would you like to help you format these questions into an online form or ATS friendly format? I'm going to say no, just for the purpose of this, and give them some good feedback there too. Let's do a few other ones here. How about I'm going to create a policy. Generate a policy for my workplace handbook on the ethical use of social media at work. That was quick. So now it's saying here, the social media use policy, ethical guidelines, all the way down from professionalism to company representation, respect, reporting concerns. I'm looking this over real quick because I write handbooks too. Yeah, that looks pretty good there. Now, you might want to put more information in there, though, of like, I am in manufacturing and we are in these 3 states, because if you put in the states that you're in, then it will automatically connect the state laws that it's aware of. Now, I do want you to know that ChatGPT's information is slightly outdated. Obviously, it's a giant, 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 giant database. And, it's not going to be information that is live today. Some of the systems connect to the internet. And so they may be able to go out and look at the news resources of today, but just know that it's slightly outdated as well. I did want to also tell you, I had a thought there, I forget what it was, but if you wanted it to be like casual language or different type of language, you can set that up in your settings as well and then customize ChatGPT too. So I have in here that I am in the US, I am not formal, I'm not too casual, I like to write and speak like an actual human, and I am in the US. And so you can, if you wanted to know you, so you don't have to keep saying I am in the US, look at US laws, you could just put that in there in your settings so it knows who you are. Or you can just say, no, I don't want you to know anything about me because this is freaking me out. And that's totally fine as well. I want to do this because I know we only have a few minutes left, but I want to show you something about, I'm just going to continue using the mini one about job descriptions, because I know job descriptions aren't always, super fun and things like that. I want to do it this way. I'm going to do 2 things. Okay, so I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create a detailed job description for an office manager of a 25-person company in Arizona. They need to have basic accounting skills, organized, be able to pick up technology. We use Microsoft Office, QuickBooks, and Zoom, as well as Slack. This is an in-person role with flexible work schedules. And then the minute you hit return on your computer or this arrow, it starts generating. So for those of you who are little, neuro like I am, that you need a space, on my computer, I have a Mac, I hit return and then, I'm sorry, shift and return, and then it gives me a space. But you don't need a space. Like, we need to remove that from our systems. The next line that I have, and I use this for every single one of my job descriptions I ever do with all of my clients. So all my job descriptions have the same exact format. I say, okay, here's all the information about the job description. Now give it to me in this format. Summary of the role, essential duties, non-essential duties for ADA purposes, a list of required knowledge, skills, and abilities, and mental and physical requirements, and include our company values of whatever they are: respect, trust, and open communication. And then there's a reason I put the company values in there, because I'm going to create interview questions from this too. And I want there to be interview questions or just feedback questions if it's an actual review on the company values. Because if we're not asking questions or giving feedback about it, why do we even have them? So the job title here, office manager, Arizona, reports to, you have to fill that in, company values. And now it's giving me the format exactly how I asked for it, because I copied and pasted that format every single time I use job descriptions. So I'm looking this over real quick here. That looks excellent. Non-essential duties for ADA consideration. And then you need to train your managers that they need to do reasonable accommodations if you have to comply with the ADA. Require knowledge, skills, and abilities, mental and physical requirements. And then if you had any, educational requirements in there, you would want to add that too. I'm more of a fan, even though I have 3 degrees myself, I'm more of a fan of knowledge, skills, and abilities than educational requirements, because you can get knowledge, skills, and abilities without having a degree. So I'm just going to say, yep, good response there. But now I'm going to say, and continue the conversation. And I'm going to say, create 15 detailed interview questions for this job description. And then this is a way that you can now start creating a scorecard, so that you're only hiring or promoting somebody internally based off of the important questions, not based off, oh, they wore red and I don't like red, or I'm a discriminatory person and I don't like, something about them. Nope, sorry, that's not on the scorecard. So as HR, this is a way you can start controlling your managers when they're making not great decisions, of saying, no, everything needs to be on a scorecard. So I'll just pick one up here. For this was a basic accounting. What experience do you have with bookkeeping or accounting software? Can you walk me through how you handle invoice and expense tracking, all the way down to attention to detail? So we're going to say, for purposes of today's preview here, that yeah, that was a great way to do it there. Good information. And I'm going to ask this, continuing the conversation, develop a bias-aware interview scorecard. And now it's going to say, here's the scorecard here, based off of all of those questions above, or at least the competency areas. And then you just score them, your managers do, is they score them 1 through 5, and then give the notes over here too. And you see this right here, you could just copy the table and put it into like a Google Sheets or an Excel or something like that. Pretty interesting, right?
Right. Speeds
I,
things up. A lot easier than having to crank those with the old mimeograph machine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're saying, you know what, I'm not sure I like that, you could switch a model and say, um, you know, I think that was the same model, but you could just switch the model to do different models. Honestly, for the most part, don't worry about the models. If once you get into it further, that they'll make sense. You could probably use any of the models, and for what we're doing today, and then what we're going to be doing June 9th, 10th, and 11th, you could probably just use the free model. You really don't have to worry about all of this. So this just gave me a different format of it. So now it's basically, I could copy the table and then put it right into a scorecard. So I actually like this format a lot better. So when you come back on June 9th, 10th, and 11th, we'll be going into even more information, all the way down to, making sure that we are understanding, what else ChatGPT can do, what it can't do as well. And then just a little bit more tips and tricks to understand that, it is really amazing, but it is different than Google, and there are risks. So we'll go over more of the risks in some ways that you can QC the information. Do make sure that you are asking the right questions, specific, even in HR land, at a minimum, putting that you're in the United States, so it takes the US laws. I'd prefer you to go ahead and use the actual state, city, industry, geography, so it could even say, okay, there's been new laws there. Now, when we come back on June 9th, I'll give you more information about how old the data in the system is and where you could find that. But just know that, tech is here forever. It's not going away. AI is here. AI is amazing, but it's also scary because depending on how you ask the question, you could be breaking laws. And in some schools, universities, and countries as a whole, ChatGPT AI or some version of AI may be banned. And so we need to understand that. But whether you're allowing it in your workplace or not, small hint, people are using it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Wendy. This is stunning. This is great. Obviously, we could have gone on for hours and will go on for hours next week. So please join us next week for our ChatGPT for HR certification and professional 20 for 20% off. Thank you very much and have a great day, everybody.
Take care, everybody.